Hey everyone, we are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers and we really need your help. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button as we get started. Before we get into all of this, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because we cover the stories that the mainstream tennis world is either too polite or too scared to touch. Now, let us get into it because this one is absolutely wild. Jelena Ostapenko is panicking. There is truly no other way to put it. The draw has come out and the name that has appeared across from hers in that second round slot is the one name she was desperately hoping to avoid. Alexandra Eala. The Filipino sensation who has turned Ostapenko's life into a recurring nightmare is back, and this time, the stakes have never felt higher. Because this is not just another second-round match on a Tuesday afternoon. This is a rematch. This is unfinished business. And for Ostapenko, this is a chance to finally put the demons to rest, to finally prove that she has figured out the girl who keeps beating her. But based on everything we have seen from Ostapenko recently, based on her form, her behavior, and the very public way in which her mental game has been crumbling in front of our eyes, the signs are not good. Not good at all. Let us start with Ostapenko herself, because before we even begin talking about what Eala has done to her, we need to understand the kind of player we are dealing with and, more importantly, the kind of headspace she is currently operating in. Jelena Ostapenko is a former French Open champion. She is a big hitter, one of the most ferociously aggressive baseliners anywhere on the WTA Tour, and on her very best day, she is genuinely capable of destroying absolutely anyone on any surface on earth. Her ball striking is violent in the most beautiful way. Her attitude on court is fierce. She carries herself with a confidence that can feel deeply intimidating to an opponent who does not come prepared for it. That is Ostapenko at her best, and her best is genuinely something to behold. But Ostapenko at her worst is a completely different story. And unfortunately, the worst version of Ostapenko has been showing up far too often, in far too many important moments, for far too long now for anyone to keep making excuses for her. Her career has been plagued by off-court controversies and on-court meltdowns that have consistently raised serious questions about her ability to handle pressure when things stop going her way. And then came the Taylor Townsend incident at the 2025 US Open. If you have not heard about this, stop everything, because this moment told us everything we needed to know about the state of Jelena Ostapenko's mental game right now. After losing to Townsend in straight sets, a match that had clearly gotten deep under her skin, Ostapenko went after Townsend at the net. Not to congratulate her. Not to shake her hand with grace and dignity. Ostapenko came in hot, seething with frustration, pointing her finger, and reportedly told Townsend that she had no class and no education. Right there at the net, in front of the entire crowd, on international television. Townsend, showing a level of composure and class that Ostapenko herself clearly could not access in that moment, simply fired back calmly, walked away, and let the crowd carry her into the next round. She refused to give Ostapenko the dramatic reaction she was desperately searching for. And in doing so, Townsend exposed exactly how fragile and combustible Ostapenko becomes the moment results stop going her way. The crowd booed Ostapenko off the court. The tennis world reacted with a collective jaw on the floor. Stars like Naomi Osaka and Coco Gauff publicly weighed in on the incident. Ostapenko later issued a social media apology, claiming that English was not her native language and that she had not intended her words the way they landed. But the damage was already done, because the image of Ostapenko pointing her finger and crumbling in that moment had already been burned into everyone's memory. This is not the behavior of someone who is mentally composed. This is not the behavior of a champion at peace with her game. This is someone who is cracking under the weight of expectations, losses, and a level of frustration that has clearly become impossible for her to manage. And it is a pattern that has followed Ostapenko throughout her entire career, surfacing again and again every time the pressure gets too great. Now here is where this story takes a breathtaking turn. Because while Ostapenko has been publicly unraveling and making headlines for all the wrong reasons, Alexandra Eala has been doing the exact opposite. Eala has been quietly, methodically, and almost impossibly building a reputation as one of the most mentally composed young players on the entire WTA Tour. And the contrast between these two women could not be more dramatic if someone had scripted it. Let us talk about who Alexandra Eala actually is, because if you are only just discovering her, your jaw is going to hit the floor. She is 20 years old. She is from the Philippines, born in Quezon City, trained at the legendary Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain from the age of 13. She won the Australian Open Junior Doubles at 14. She won the US Open Junior Singles title in 2022, the first Filipino ever to do so. But none of that junior success fully prepared the world for what she would do in 2025. Because 2025 was not just a breakthrough year for Alexandra Eala. It was a history-making, record-smashing, watch-in-disbelief year that nobody in women's tennis saw coming. She began 2025 ranked number 147 in the world. Let that sink in for a moment. 147. She was grinding through qualifying rounds. She was playing smaller events. She was just trying to find her footing on the main tour. And then came Miami. She entered the Miami Open as a wild card, which means she was not even ranked highly enough to earn direct entry into the tournament. And what she proceeded to do inside those 2 weeks in Florida rewrote Philippine tennis history in a way that will never be forgotten. She beat Jelena Ostapenko. Then she beat Madison Keys, a Grand Slam champion. Then she beat Iga Swiatek, the world number 2, one of the greatest players of her generation. She became the first Filipino woman to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal. She became the first Filipino woman to enter the WTA Top 100. In 2 weeks, she jumped from number 147 to number 75 in the world rankings. In 2 weeks. And that Miami run was not a fluke. That is the most important thing to understand. Because Eala came back and proved it again and again throughout the rest of 2025. She reached the final of the Eastbourne Open on grass. She won her first WTA title in Guadalajara in September. She became the first Filipino ever to win a Grand Slam main draw match at the US Open. She ended 2025 ranked number 50 in the world after starting it at number 147. That is a climb of nearly 100 places in a single season, one of the most remarkable ascents women's tennis has seen in years. And by March of 2026, she had climbed even further, reaching a career-high ranking of number 29 in the world, making her the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history, full stop. The entire country of the Philippines is behind her. She is not just a tennis player anymore. She is a national icon. But here is the thing that makes Eala truly special, and the thing that makes her such a uniquely dangerous opponent for someone like Ostapenko in particular. It is not just the tennis. It is the mind, the mental game, the way she carries herself under pressure, the way she responds when things go wrong. Nowhere was this more clearly demonstrated than in her match against Laura Siegemund, a player who is absolutely notorious for psychological warfare on the tennis court. Siegemund is not just a tennis player. She is a chess player in a tennis player's body. She stretches time rules. She engages officials constantly. She tries with every ounce of her being to disrupt the rhythm and the concentration of whoever is standing on the other side of the net. It is a tactic that has broken many players before her. Against Eala, it broke nothing. From the very first game, Siegemund went to work, pushing every psychological button she could find, testing every boundary, doing everything in her power to pull Eala out of her game and into a mental battle. Early on, you could see moments where it seemed like it might be working. But then something remarkable happened. Eala simply reset. She did not argue. She did not complain. She did not let frustration leak onto her face or into her body language. She walked back to the baseline, took a breath, and refocused entirely on the tennis in front of her. When Siegemund pressed again, she found someone completely unshakable. Eala won that match with a calm, clinical clarity that was breathtaking to witness, and it sent a message to every single player on the WTA Tour. This woman cannot be rattled. You can try. It will not work. And that mental superiority is the exact foundation upon which the head-to-head record between Eala and Ostapenko has been built. Because when you put someone as mentally fragile as Ostapenko against someone as mentally fortified as Eala, the results tend to tell a very consistent and very one-sided story. It started in Miami. The first time these two women ever shared a court on the main tour. The ranking gap was enormous. Ostapenko was the established player, seeded 25th, playing with confidence and form behind her. Eala was the wild card nobody had heard of. On paper, this should have been a comfortable win for the Latvian, the kind of match you glance at before a tournament and pencil in as a second-round exit for the young qualifier who got lucky with a wild card invite. But Eala had absolutely no interest in following anyone else's script. In a match that had the Miami crowd completely captivated, Eala found herself down 4 points to love in that first set and staring at the very real possibility of being blown off the court before the match even got started. A lesser player would have crumbled. A player without that mental steel would have started playing tentatively, already mentally halfway out the door. Eala refused to fold. She fought back from 4-love down, stayed composed under the most suffocating kind of pressure, and took that first set in a tiebreak, 7 points to 2. Not just survived it, dominated the tiebreak. The second set was equally gripping. Eala took control early, built a commanding 4-love lead, looked like she was going to run away with the match entirely. But Ostapenko is never truly finished until she is finished, and she clawed her way back into the second set, drawing level and refusing to go quietly. And here is exactly where the mental gap between these two players became absolutely decisive. Because while Ostapenko was scrapping and clawing and trying to force her way back through sheer aggression and raw emotion, Eala was calm. She was in control. She was thinking clearly. And she found a way through once more, taking the second set and sealing a victory that sent shockwaves across the entire tennis world. 7-6, 7-5. Eala wins. In straight sets. Against the 25th seed. As a wild card with no business being in that part of the draw. Ostapenko must have told herself it was a one-off. She must have sat in her hotel room in Miami and convinced herself that on that particular day the conditions just did not favor her, that the result was a strange anomaly, that the next time they played she would be ready. She would not be caught off guard again. That second chance came at the Eastbourne Open. And Ostapenko came in hungry. She came in prepared. She came in looking every bit like a player who had been stewing on that Miami defeat for months and was finally ready to set the record straight. And for one set, it genuinely looked like she might do it. Ostapenko took the first set 6 games to love. An absolute demolition. A bagel. She blasted through it with ferocity and looked completely in control. It had everyone watching wondering if Eala had even turned up, and Ostapenko looked like she had finally cracked the code, finally found the answer to the puzzle that had humiliated her in Florida. She had not. Because what happened next was the thing that truly separates good players from great ones, resilient players from mentally elite ones. Eala came back. She won the second set 6-2. She took control of the third and had Ostapenko on the ropes, breaking in the very first game and refusing to let go of the lead. Ostapenko, by now dealing with a troubling ankle problem that required not one but 2 separate medical timeouts in the final set, ultimately could not continue, retiring from the match while Eala was serving at 3-2 in the decider. 2 meetings. 2 defeats. And the manner of that Eastbourne loss was arguably more psychologically damaging for Ostapenko than Miami had been. Because it confirmed beyond any reasonable doubt that Miami was no accident. Because it proved that even when Ostapenko went up a full set, even when she came out of the gate with everything she had, Eala just absorbed it, regrouped, and came back stronger. There was no more ranking gap to hide behind. No surface to blame. No excuse left standing. No story to tell herself that made the result feel less real. Eala simply has Ostapenko's number. And every player, every pundit, and every fan paying attention to women's tennis right now knows it. So here we are. Another draw. Another collision course. Another opportunity for one of the most compelling storylines in women's tennis right now to take its next chapter. Ostapenko comes into this encounter carrying the weight of 2 consecutive defeats against this specific opponent. A fragile mental game that has been publicly and repeatedly exposed. The shadow of the Townsend incident at the US Open still hanging over her reputation and her image in the sport. And a season that has produced more controversy than clarity, more noise than results. Meanwhile, Eala comes in as a top 30 player in the world. as the highest-ranked Filipino in the history of the sport. As a history maker who started 2025 ranked 147 and spent the year beating former French Open champions, Australian Open champions, and multiple world number ones, like she belonged in that company all along, because it turns out she does. She comes in with momentum. She comes in with form. She comes in with the kind of psychological edge that only exists when you have already beaten someone twice and you know, somewhere deep in your bones, that you can do it again. That the blueprint is already written. That you have already solved the puzzle. That when you look across the net at this particular opponent, you do not feel nerves. You feel familiarity. And familiarity, in a sport as mental as tennis, is everything. The record says Eala wins. The form says Eala wins. The mental battle has already been decided long before either of them laces up their shoes and walks onto the court. And somewhere, in the quiet private moments before a match like this one, Ostapenko knows it too. That is the worst part for her. Not just the losing, but knowing, in that space before the first ball is struck, that the person across the net has already been inside her head, has already beaten her before she has hit a single shot, has already turned the court into a place that does not feel entirely safe anymore. Ostapenko is panicking. And honestly, given everything we have seen, every meltdown and every controversy and every defeat at the hands of this extraordinary young woman from the Philippines, who on earth could blame her? Alexandra Eala is coming. The record is on her side. The form is on her side. History is on her side. And the most terrifying thing for Yelena Ostapenko is that the momentum in this rivalry is only moving in one direction. This story is not finished. Not even close. And you absolutely do not want to miss what happens next. If you made it all the way to the end of this, do me one favor and smash that like button right now, because it genuinely helps more people find this channel and discover the stories we are telling here every single week. Drop your prediction for this matchup in the comments section below. Do you think Ostapenko can finally find a way through, or is Eala about to make it 3 wins from 3 and fully cement her status as Ostapenko's kryptonite? I want to read every single take you have got. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown like this one.